Hey, and welcome to Where Music Meets the Soul with Lance Sterling. That's me. And today I have a friend of mine who has been a talent buyer for 40 years.
Almost. Let's just say I started when I was 6.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, I get that now. But you also were like, are you a baby boomer or did you miss that?
I think I'm right on the cusp, and I'm going to own it, though.
I'm the last baby boomer. I was born in 62.
And I are pretty much. I was born in 64, so I don't know.
So you're not a baby boomer. You didn't make it into our...
You just don't want me in your club.
Did you all know all this time I didn't know that the generation before baby boomers was considered the greatest generation? I didn't know that was the name of the generation.
Oh, I didn't either. I just thought it was that book.
I thought somebody was just bragging.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. So Roger, just so you guys put in perspective, when I left House of Blues and I came and started my own company, Roger was booking the Coach House.
The Coach House and the Key Club on Sunset Boulevard.
And let's talk about the legend Gary Faulkner. Because Gary is, to me, one of the most important people in Southern California in the music industry because he kept it all together. For how long has he been doing it?
He started promoting concerts in Southern California in the Orange County area in the 60s.
And as I was coming across with House of Blues, I would see Gary's name come in, come out, and he's always been there. And I have to be honest, because when I book bands, I actually go in and I'll check on Lean Ed and Friends tonight, and I'll say hi to them. But Gary does the same thing.
Yeah,
he
does.
Actually meets the bands, and they know who he is.
Gary's 84. Just turned 84 in September, and he goes to, I would say, 80%, if not 85% of the shows that are at the Coach House. And the Coach House does 175 shows a year.
Yeah, and the only deal I have is I go to all the shows, but if I lose money, I don't go to that show because I'm too afraid
of what
I say to the band. There is a band called Venice. Remember Venice?
Yeah, Vanessa. Mm-hmm.
And he... said he came into the office once and Dave had to pull me off of him because I was going to beat him to death.
Yeah, well.
I was like, oh no, you don't understand. Promoters take their life very seriously.
Well, I mean, I think the problem with artists is they don't always realize that as a promoter, we're investing in them also. And it's like it's our fault. It's their fault if the show does well, and it's our fault if the show does poorly. I've never understood that.
But I can tell, like, with the new guys coming out, they're so jealous because, who knew that Frank Sinatra used to book all his events through me because I was his promoter. And right now, I just picked up the Hollywood Median, Tyler Henry.
Yeah.
So now we're doing the promotion. So we have him at the Dolby. We have him in Fox and Bakerfield, and we have them in Oxnard, and we have them down at Redondo. So it's starting up again because it got to be where they only trusted certain promoters.
Well, I think you hit on something real interesting there, Lance, is the old school promoters like Gary or you or, Bill Graham up in San Francisco, they really did have a relationship with the artists.
Right.
And that's why you going in and talking to the artists, whether it's Tyler Henry or it's Pat and Neil that you've got a real strong relationship with, or the managers, or on and on. It's the same thing with Gary. Half of those acts continue to play the Coach House because they like Gary. And
the weird thing is, like with Pat and Neil, I know the Canyon Club's not big. It's way too small. And I know they will come and play it. They throw me business. I know that they recommend us to other people. And I appreciate that because I've always said, you get them on the way up,
get them on
the way down.
Yeah.
And on the way down, it's actually more fun.
Yeah. And again, the fact that you as an old school promoter still nurture those relationships, I mean, as your talent buyer over the years, and what we did really well is we would play kind of like I'm dealing with the agents and you're dealing with the artists or the managers, and we're finding ways to make those deals. And I don't think we could be as effective if we weren't doing that because there's the business side of it.
Right.
And then there's the music side of it.
And the great thing is, and I guess this talk show has really helped me immensely because I get to talk to Gino Vanelli directly, and he gets to hear what I'm doing. Lean and Friends, you and I are integrally involved with them, and we're like, this is the best thing for your career.
You know what I think you do with this, and I love it, is you bridge the gap between the different entities that exist. If you're an agent, you think the promoters sometimes, there's this weird...
Yeah, we remember the joke we used to do, what do you call 10 agents at the bottom of the ocean? A good start.
I can't say it.
I can say it.
You can say it.
Because my issue is I only work with the boutique agencies. Like me, if I call William Morris or CAA, there's no reason they would talk to me because with one phone call, they could book 300 shows with Live Nation. But when I talk to these boutique agencies, and I have to say this, why would you book the Canyon Club? Why would you use Sterling Venue Ventures? One, because if you're worth 1,000 tickets, I'll get you 2,000 people. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between Live Nation, AEG, and an independent
You care about
promoter.
every single show.
Right.
It's the same as Gary. And all the independent promoters, I see a future where we have two industries, if you will. Yeah. The industry that's maybe 1,500 and under or 2,000 and under or whatever we want to call it, and then the stuff that's above. Live Nation doesn't look at the business on a show-by-show basis, not even a tour-by-tour basis as far as I'm concerned. They're looking at it when they're doing their quarterly shareholder meetings. They talk about how many millions of tickets they're going to do in the quarter and how much ancillary revenue they're going to do on that. That takes away from that connection with the end user, which is the customer.
Right, because Taylor Swift exists. And because Taylor Swift exists, she sells her own tickets. You could be the worst promoter on the face of the planet and get the Taylor Swift concert and run around and saying, sold out.
Exactly.
Like, well,
yeah, try and promote
S. Sherlock. Wherever she plays, it would sell out.
Yeah, now go out and try and promote that, that baby band.
How about you promote Fix?
Exactly.
Or Sugar Free.
Yeah.
And I remember, who did that? Who's doing the halftime show?
Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. And the crazy thing about Bad Bunny is, he played the Canyon Club. And when no one knew who he was.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is everybody's like, how could they do Bad Bunny? I haven't liked, since the Blues Brothers, which was in New Orleans 20 years ago, I haven't liked any of the halftime performers. I was assuming the halftime performers, I did not want to see Mariah Carey. I do not want to see those people,
Well, I mean, what is the audience for the NFL? The NFL audience is everybody. And
yeah, but the NFL audience, all the football freaks are watching the football game. So I agree. My wife and everybody else could just watch Bad Bunny and it doesn't need to match. And that's why I'm so weirded that everybody's so offended, because they've been doing the same model for the last 10 or 15 years.
Well, and that's a good point you make, because I think that the people programming the Super Bowl halftime aren't necessarily, in my opinion, in touch with who the audience is. Now, what I mean by that is we have the Canyon Club, for example, or the Coach House or whatever, our Saban Theater. We can't program what we want. We program what our audience wants. And the audience for the NFL is a very diverse audience. Back when they were doing Prince, it wasn't about political stripes or race or anything else. It was just Prince is a great act that appealed to everybody.
Hey, still today, I was watching, because remember Promo Only? Do you remember that company?
I vaguely do.
They put out all the videos for every band. And I had all the Promo Only, and I was watching on the way here that I still had the Milli Vanilli videos. And I had all of these videos from the 70s and 80s. And remember, back then, if you put out music, one, does anybody remember the B-side of records?
I do.
Yeah. So when we talk about the B-side and the Fix and the Tubes, like Fee Waybell and the Tubes, the guy is amazing. And I know I'm a Tubes freak.
Yeah.
But he has such a small effect. And remember when I booked BTO, Randy Bachman? I'm from New York. I thought that was a sellout concert, without question. And I put it up for sale, and people go, BTO, what's that? Randy Bachman. And he's a Canadian. I'm like, oh, I forgot. New York, we're right next to Canada.
Next door.
Oh, you're a Canadian.
Yeah. Well, and then the other side of that, too, Lance, is look at the shows we've done that'll sell out on the East Coast. And then on the West Coast, they do nothing.
They don't even know who they are.
The differences between musical audiences, even from Orange County to Agoura Hills, is significant. And I mean, we see that with Saban Theater, LA, and
What
the
do you
differences.
like right now? Like, this is the advantage. Why am I still here? Why did I go from being number 27 promoter in the world to being number 5? Not because I'm better at my job. Everybody else is gone. So they all left. And you're like, this is one of those where you're not quite sure if this is an award where you're left holding the bag. And you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, winning that award might be the worst thing that could ever happen to you.
And
yeah.
at the end of the day, my wife and I...
That's because you're like a bull and you won't go away.
Well, I compare myself to herpes.
Oh, my God.
As soon as you think I'm gone, I'm coming back.
And nobody wants it.
But still today, I have to be honest that I couldn't be any more proud than on a Tuesday night, I have Leonette and Friends, which is a Chicago, arguably, whether it's the Chicago Tribute or whether it's just Leonette and Friends.
Show.
Right. It's got 1,000 people on a Tuesday.
Lance, we're still in touch with the guys who buy the tickets.
Right.
And as a small venue and what we do as independent promoters, I think that nothing is more enjoyable or evokes gratitude in me than knowing that we're actually talking to our customers. And I don't think the large, corporate concert promoters do that anymore. They're negotiating.
They couldn't do it.
No, they don't. They're negotiating rebates with the venues. They're putting their shows in the venues that they make the most money in, whether they're sharing in some of the ancillary revenues or whatever it is. And then you've got the venues, the building operators, and the larger buildings are controlled by organizations that manage buildings for a living.
Right.
They don't talk to they look at customer service and they may care about whether the restrooms are clean, but they're not hearing it relative to the promoters. The promoters are talking to the venues asking for rebates. The venues are giving them the rebates, and then they're jacking up the facility fees and the cost of beer.
Well, I forgot who was bragging the other day about, like, there shouldn't be any billionaires out there.
I think that election's happening today.
Oh, no. But people complaining, and I always thought it was hilarious that these artists would go, well, I donate money to the fire victims. No, you don't. You did a concert, and the upcharge went to the fire victims. You didn't do it. The customer bought a ticket, and you donated half money where you're getting the write-off for it, and the customer is paying for a ticket, which I don't care how it happens. I just know that, like, looking forward, I'm trying to figure out
what the landscape looks like.
Yeah, is it going to be like, our band's going to retire? Like, are the Rolling Stones going to say, I'm done, and we're not going to go out again?
Look at what we have fun doing, okay? We're booking the Samantha Fishes of the world. We're booking we've got a guy coming in, John Splithoff, which I know you probably don't even know who it is, because honestly, I didn't either when I booked it. But, that show's going to do really well at the Coach. And there's an audience for artists that sell call it 300 to 1,000 tickets and will their whole life. But that's pretty freaking good. I would love to be able to play music and do, 50 to 100 shows a year for 1,000 people and make a good living.
You know what I'd like to do?
Retire?
Book Sesame Street for a month. And I was,
Do you get to be Oscar the Grouch?
I would actually volunteer to be Oscar the Grouch because I remember all the PACs. It was all of these, like Dora the Explorer, who was a big purple dinosaur, Barney the dinosaur, and
you got the Power Rangers now.
No, but and that's Haim Saban did the Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm. That's why I brought it up.
And he sold it to somebody, Universal, I think. They totally boned it so bad, they sold it back to him.
Lance, this is, again, you're talking about, I don't think this is unique to the music industry, this corporatization or monopolization of things. A lot of the things you're talking about, whether it's Sesame Street, Power Rangers, Wiggles, on and on and on, it gets bought up by these big corporate entities that put it out, and it just becomes rinse and repeat.
Right.
And I think that art, in my opinion, and again, I'm a dinosaur, I get it, I don't think art should be corporatized and be rinse and repeat.
I agree with that. It's kind of like the same argument I have with opening bands. Do most opening bands you can book, and you got to pick someone who's not the same, but at the same
appeals to the audience,
level, so that like 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
Because what
Or
we
3.
what we always end up having is a band will bring their own opener, which they don't bring anybody.
Correct.
You know, and now you're just wasting more money.
Well, and we know the reason for that. It's because the band's either buying on, they're providing the tour bus, they're providing the back line, or they're on the same label or with the same agency. How many times?
But do you know that normal customers would never know that?
Nope. And how many times, though, even the national act, I've had the national act come up to me and go, why is this band on the bill? And I go,
because you put
them on. And they'll go, no, we didn't.
Happens all the time to me.
All the time.
And remember, we had this one famous concert where it happened, and it was a very famous guitar player, and I did not realize. So they're like, the band's upset. So I'm running out there and I'm saying, are you okay? What's going on? He goes, I'm fine. So I run the night. And then you tell me the next day, it was the opening band that was upset. Normally, you know what we care about the opening bands? Nothing. We're like, go away.
Yeah. Well, and there's different reasons. I mean, I love the openers too. Some of them, it's guys like me and you that grew up playing music. We're never going to be rock stars, but we get to go on in front of our favorite band, and we pre-sell some ticket, or we help promote the show, or whatever we do.
Because I always think of when I did House of Blues, everybody was pay to play. Like the Troubadour and all those for Roxy, you had to pay to play. You had to guarantee 50 or 100 people.
Yeah.
And I realized when I did Canyon Clubs, I stopped that because you couldn't pay to play, because that would ruin it. It would give you the ticket revenue, but it wouldn't give you the fan base. And what I realized in the ethnic world, bands don't like to play to empty rooms, where in the corporate world, they don't care.
Yeah.
As long as you get the check and it clears, they deposit it. But there are certain bands that if I said, hey, you sold 170 people out of 3,000, like what just happened at the Kia, where I would have canceled that show. I never would have let that show happen with 3,000 people out of 17, because that's the story now.
Well, do you remember when we started, if we papered a show without the agent's permission,
we got in trouble.
We got in big trouble. And I think, now the crazy thing, this is how the world has changed. And we're very lucky being 61 or 62 and 64 that we got to see.
Not 64 yet.
Okay, 62 and 63. We got to see the music industry pre-Live Nation, if you will, or pre-corporatization and post. So we got
we got to watch it happen.
Exactly.
That was the crazy
Fascinating,
thing.
Right?
When we were down at the Tabernacle booking it, we watched a company called SFX, which we all thought was a weirdo. Silverman. Oh, my God.
Bob Silverman, SFX.
You know what my grandfather used to call me? A warehouse of useless knowledge. Because I would remember the most random, but I remembered SFX coming in and saying, "Oh, we're going to buy up all the local promoters." And I'm thinking, like, one, have you ever met Bill Graham? Did you get a chance to meet Bill?
I did one time.
Yeah, and it's so appropriate because I told my wife.
By the way,
I told my wife the other day. I said, "I want to die like Bill." On the way to the top of a mountain on a helicopter with a band, boom, slams into the side of the mountain. That was the legend.
Yeah.
He made that statement I use all the time with the agents.
But
looks like there's an awful lot more than 1,000 people in here.
Yeah.
No, they're just really fat. Did you know Bill Graham said that?
I do. But here's, and you and I as promoters also know that depending on the nature or genre of the show, we know we can fit more or less seats, right?
Right. It's funny because the Canyon Club works mostly with older people.
Yeah.
And everybody comes into my venue and looks up and goes, occupancy of 1,300. How would you ever fit 1,300 people? Because I go,
that's for the indie rock nights where they're really skinny.
And the funny thing is when Foo Fighters play, we had 1,300 people in the building, and you could walk through the whole building because there was no furniture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you realize these people are super fat. And then I started to think, because you want to pick on them, you're right, 1,000 people that are an extra 3 inches around. It's a lot
It's a
of
lot.
it. Yeah.
I wonder if the fire marshal considers that.
No, they don't. I've had that argument many a time.
We're going down a slippery slope now.
Yeah.
We should go back, though, Lance, to talking about the difference, the pre and kind of post SFX Live Nation world or Clear Channel.
And watching them collect it as it goes, I never thought that someone like Billie Eilish would get into bed with a huge corporation. But you know what I mean? Because I remember, and I hate to pick on her, but
why do you say that?
Reba McEntire.
Are you saying
never
that
played
because
for
you
me
think that they would be anti-corporate, I guess?
Because she didn't grow up through the system, where I appreciate the system where you go in as an opener, you become good at your trade, you develop your, the Ben Harper rule.
Which doesn't
Jack
happen
Johnson.
really as much
Well,
anymore.
Ben Harper, Jack Johnson, it all
but
happened
those
with
guys,
them.
but these are not young artists, new artists.
They're still
anymore.
young to me.
Yeah, me too.
sorry.
But you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the distinction. When you look at this, and even if you point out the
Because
differences.
I call them the American Idol group.
Yeah.
Where they're one-hit wonders. They're not really.
Well, that's kind of on purpose. I mean, look at what's happened. 1996, mid-90s to me, going into the early 2000s was the perfect storm for music. And what I mean by that, if you think about it, you had MP3s coming by. Remember the big Napster thing? But that kind of segued into the advent of the iPod came out, and you had iTunes.
Right.
And I remember being in a conversation with a major label guy who was a president at the time of one of the major labels. And I said, and I was a wet behind the ears kid then. And I said, wow, how cool is this new iTunes thing? And I remember them distinctly saying to me, you better be careful what you wish for. That's going to nurture a relationship between the consumer and the song and not the consumer and the artist.
Right.
So you got that. Then you had the demise of the major labels. You had a lot of them now become go public or have shareholders and stockholders, and the shareholders were looking to turn a profit. You didn't really turn a profit on an artist for about 3 records back in the day. Then you had you had radio. Radio went from where you could own a maximum of 15 stations, and then it got deregulated in the mid-'90s, and that's when it went, all of a sudden, there was no more independent radio.
And Clear Channel.
Clear Channel, exactly.
And it's funny, the other day I was driving around. You know what Clear Channel still owns?
Billboards.
All the billboards.
Yeah. That's where they started out, as a billboard company.
And did you know I sold my first Derby outdoor?
I didn't know.
In Tucson, Arizona, when I graduated civil engineer. I wanted to be an engineer. I worked for a billboard company.
You ever wish you'd have been an engineer?
The funniest thing is I was, and I screwed it up because I went in for the billboard company. I looked at it and go, oh, this is so easy. I wrote a program that basically located every possible billboard in Tucson, Arizona, and I sent letters out to everybody offering them $100 for an option to do a lease. And
Wow.
I did 800 of them. And my boss, I'm thinking I'm a genius, right? Oh, I got like $500 per. I got $40,000.
Which was a lot of money back then.
And you're thinking like, oh my, I'm rich. And then he turned around and sold Derby Outdoor to Clear Channel for $3 million.
Yeah, yeah.
I made my 40 grand.
Yeah.
He made $3 million. Good for him.
But look at how that changed now. And then you added that there was a class action suit that was brought up against the major labels saying that you couldn't do a 7-record deal because that's what they used to do. Well, if you and I started a label, Lance, are we going to have – now all you can do is a 2-record deal legally, supposedly.
And you can't make your money back.
No, because the 3rd record is where you need – because you're building the brand. So
but that's where Apple has affected it because Apple doesn't want to give up that money. And now the streaming services, because we talk about streaming services all the time. We're going to have to take a break in a minute. But we talk about streaming services all the time on how it's just a great business model because you forget about it and then you've agreed to something. And, just like when I just got everybody's got to pay attention. Apple just sent out their upgraded iCloud storage, which I've never used. And who knew it went up to $29?
Wow.
And you're like, wait a minute. I'm watching all of this happen.
Yeah.
And so if you're not checking your credit cards, be careful, guys.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back in a couple minutes with Roger LeBlanc. And we're back with Roger LeBlanc, the talent buyer extraordinaire.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, come on.
I use the term talent loosely sometimes.
Well, the crazy thing is, in that the best thing in the world for us, and what I get most excited about, is when I can come up with something that no one's ever thought of, and I draw 1,300 people to come see it.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm a freaking genius. And I walk around for 30 seconds, and I realize one thing.
But
you're only as good as your last
show.
concert.
That's right.
Because as soon as it's over, you suck again.
Yeah. My favorite thing to say to the young people who get into our business is don't pat yourself too hard on the back for the winners. Because you're going to have to kick yourself in the ass that hard on the losers.
Yeah.
So just fucking be happy.
Easy, buddy.
Yeah.
We're on radio.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Hey, listen.
Hold on.
That was my biggest worry.
I thought you could say anything you wanted now.
No, it's funny. You can say it on a podcast, but you can't say it on a radio. But the issue is I can see.
Yeah, but I wanted a bleep in there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So you were awarded your one obligatory bleep.
Thank you.
So let's stay away from doing that too much.
So, question for you, Lynn.
Yes.
What, out of all the shows that you've done, what is the show that you've enjoyed the most, that you're proudest of, that you really think about that's memorable for you?
The next one.
Oh, my God.
I'll be honest with you because, Tyler Henry.
One that
Tyler Henry, I am totally obsessed with because I'm creating something. And there is direct comparison to me against other promoters. And I love to be compared directly. Like, I would love for Live Nation to do a show. I will do the exact same show under the exact same environment, and I will double their tickets. Because I know that every Thursday, which you brought up earlier, we sit in a meeting, and I have 40 people in my little company, and we talk about every show, and we talk about what the right person is, how do you get to those people? Because when Isaac Tigert, who was my boss at House of Blues, he sat me down once and told me, there's 20 million people in Southern California. If you can't find 1,000 of them that like the Tubes, then you suck.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
and he looked at me, and I said, you're right. Because that's when I started saying, okay, you like Fuel, right? You're a Brett Scallion fan. You're a freak.
You grew
what
up
are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing on a Monday morning?
Yeah.
What are you doing on a Friday night? And what it did for me is it brought me to Home Depot because I realized all hard rock.
They're blue-collar guys.
Blue-collar guys. They all go to Home Depot, and everybody knows everybody at the pro desks.
Yeah.
Then the other thing was I have my girls at all the Albertsons. So I go to the Albertsons and I drop off tickets to certain cashiers because the biggest thing, all cashiers know all their customers.
Yeah. Well, and, I think you're hitting the basics on promoting, which, I think is a lost art to some degree.
How about let's see on the coach. If you go into the men's bathroom, does he have pictures above the
absolutely.
urinals? See, that's how I know you're a good promoter.
But,
when you're going to the bathroom, and right in front of the urinal, there's a calendar of all this stuff coming up.
And Gary, one of the things he taught me early on was you gotta meet people where they work, where they play, and where they live.
Right.
And if you can hit those things, it's like, why are you? The craziest thing for me is when I'll see people promoting shows, and there's no way, like that Harley guy's, there's not any of those Harley guys going to that jazz show.
True.
Now that's not entirely sure. There may be a couple.
Right.
But at the end of the day, there's only so many hours and there's only so many dollars, and you need to put them where they're going to be most effective.
And I think what you said earlier was the reason promoters are so much better than these big companies is I put each performer at the best venue for them.
Yeah.
And whether you're playing the Dolby or the Saban, it's two different venues and different people will do well at each one of them.
Well, and let's look back too, pre a lot of the digital media that we have today. When you and I first started doing shows, we would have three things we'd look at. We'd look at Polestar for past show sales.
Which was bought by Live Nation.
Which was bought by OVG, but we all know we won't talk about that. But you would look at the sound scan, which would tell you how many records you're selling in your area. And then you'd look at the spins on radio, Arbitrons, I think it was, or whatever it was. And those three things told us pretty much how a show was going to do.
Right.
And then you had, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times we had guys from major labels, like the president of a major label, driving from L.A. down to Orange County, California, San Juan, to go see a band that's on their label. You don't see that anymore. When was the last time? I mean, you might because they live by you.
Yeah, the weird thing is I see it in my daughter, Savannah. She works for this one company, Big Loud. Big and Loud or something. Please don't get me in trouble for that. But, and I see her because she's a force of nature. Yeah. My Savannah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, I would be afraid to cross her.
Chip off the old block.
It's like she's got my wife's brains and my tenacity.
Yes.
Which is really scary.
Yes, so she's going to be single her whole life.
No, she's got a boyfriend.
I know.
She's had the same boyfriend.
I've known Savannah since she was in fucking... Oh, there I did. It's my second.
Oh,
freaking
my number
great.
2.
I know. I've known Savannah since she was in grade school.
Well, I have my assistant named Jordan, and she went to pre-law. So I was waiting, and I know her dad, he was a cop. And I was waiting for her to get out of college so that I could hire her to make her do all my lawsuits because we were talking about pre and post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I had 0 lawsuits. Post-COVID, I think I have 11.
Wow.
I have somebody suing me for falling down in the forest in Ojai because they were thinking of coming to a concert. And I was like, wait a minute. Because you thought you were coming to a concert, you turned left and you fell off the trail.
I have no words for that.
Oh, it's just amazing. The new one that we just got served with yesterday, which I'm sure my lawyers are going to call me. Stop talking about the lawsuits.
Exactly.
But I got served because a lady rushed the stage and grabbed the performer, and then when the cops arrested her, she beat up the cops. And she's suing me for what is she suing me for? That I confined her.
Oh my God.
It's like, you're like, oh my goodness gracious.
That's the world we live in.
Hey, listen. And the only issue is what I'm upset about is even when you go through that, it cost me like 20 or 30 grand to defend it.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite one was I heard they fixed the ADA thing. And I know music, you guys, we all have to deal with the Americans with Disability laws. So I got sued because they said that I had a 7-inch step in front of my building. Did you hear this one?
No.
And I go to the judge. I go, well, I don't have a 7-inch step. And I went outside. I took a picture and sent it to him. And he goes, well, they're suing you for a reason, so you must have had a 7-inch step. And I instead of being a jerk, because I was like, oh, I must have lowered the 88,000 square foot building so I didn't have to pay the $1,500. And the judge gave me that death stare. Like,
oh, yeah.
But what is he going to do to me? I lost the case anyway. So when the judge tells me, and then I find out
you didn't have a 7-inch step.
No, of course, there's no 7-inch. But it was cheaper. And I became that person. I used to be the person that would say, I will fight you to the death because you're wrong. Now it's like, oh, it's cheaper just to pay the $1,300 and lie and admit that there's a 7-inch step that isn't there.
Yeah, well.
Now, just so everybody knows, ADA has to give you warning to rectify it before.
Did not know that.
That's a new law that went through. Oh, that was the only new law that I saw that went through, because normally my issue is never with politicians. And I know everybody gets political. I really don't have problems with politicians. I've talked to Karen Bass. I've talked to everybody. They're all nice. Some are smarter than others. Some are not so smart. But I realize our problems and what we deal with are not politicians. It's the bureaucrats. It's people who are civil servants who think they're civil overlords.
Yes.
Because that's where I come across stuff because, I don't really care about politics. I'm in a bunch of different states, and every state has their idiosyncrasies. But in general, that seems to be the biggest hurdle I come across.
Well, and I think if you're trying to do a business in some states more than others, you're dealing, and municipalities more than others, you're dealing with that. And we're sometimes the victim.
In L.A. County, you need a dance permit. a dance permit with live entertainment.
Yeah.
And a dance. Well, there's 3 permits for dancing.
And look at the liquor laws and the different, liquor permits there are to be able to do all ages versus not all ages.
Well, we have. It's funny because I forget down deep inside. That's why we have a restaurant license.
Yeah.
Because
otherwise,
the theater license, you couldn't do. You couldn't do Sesame Street. You couldn't do Dora the Explorer.
And it's hard. I mean, if we get caught up in a power play between the city manager and the fire chief, we could be the innocent victims of a battle that.
It's happening right now. The new city manager came into Ojai, had a friend, and you booked, millions and millions of dollars worth of concerts, and overnight, your friend, the friend goes in, but we have to be happy because I get calls all the time because we over 10 years, we did 260 concerts in Ojai, which averaged about 25 to 30 concerts a year. Guess how many concerts they did this year?
I would say probably 4.
3. And 2 of them were the leftover thievery corporation.
Yeah.
They were the leftover ones who left there.
And the crazy part about it is they were calling me to book it. And, I was like, no.
Well, the problem is they don't have a sound system or security or... they don't have anything to be able to do. So even if they got a good concert, the Thievery Corporation, they came in with all their own stuff.
Well, and I think also their expectations about what they could book and couldn't book and what would work and wouldn't work were unrealistic.
And I think I have to appreciate Ojai, where they hired an independent businessman to run it. Where like in Agora, they'll take my tax money
and give it to
hire bands to play free in the park. And compete with me on a night. And then when I complain, they look at me like, don't you love your people? Don't you want them to have free concerts? Sure, in my building, and they can drink a drink.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we've seen that all over, whether it's in Agora doing it or, we compete. Look at how much the competition in the landscape has changed for places like us. When we started, you didn't have Indian casinos doing these bands and paying them a fortune. You didn't have these cities and municipalities paying bands a fortune. Right. You didn't have these county fairs paying bands a fortune. I don't begrudge the bands anything. I don't.
And that's hard because when we were in the Starlight Bowl, they were paying bands. I remember they got John Waite, and they paid him like $60,000. And I was like, oh, no. And this was like when John was making 15. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, and you want the bands, I want the bands to do well.
So do I.
But I want them to do well commensurate with kind of what they're worth in an industry.
And the hard thing is some of the bands I book are bands where I know this is the last year or 2 years. Maybe I'll get 3 years out of them because some bands I'll lose money on just for the sake of, like the Bad Bunny. I wanted him so bad, and he went from doing 1,000 people to filling stadiums, like overnight.
Yeah.
Normally, you want him to go fill stadiums, fill amphitheater. You don't go from 300-person clubs. Remember the Filthy McNasties?
Yeah.
Is that funny? I just thought
club.
of that.
Oh, my God.
Because that was like
Is
the
that
500.
even still here?
No, it's gone.
Gone?
Yeah, it's like the 500-person crap hole that everybody had to play once.
To me, that's one of the challenges with our industry. Now bands are going from a TikTok video, and all of a sudden they're opening for an arena act.
Right.
And they've never really paid. And it isn't about paying their dues for me. It's about learning your craft. You don't go from playing high school football to playing NFL, typically. You've got to go through the process, right, to learn your skill, and you got to be playing in
I have a good explanation of that one. I coach football.
I know you do. But I guess what I'm saying, Lance, is that they show up on stage as a headliner,
right?
Too early in their career.
Agreed.
They don't have the repertoire. They don't have the stage presence. And again, everybody's going to hear this and go, oh, no, what about so-and-so? And there are always outliers. But even if you're looking at the Beatles, they sat there and played clubs in England for years.
Here, I'll talk nice about Taylor Swift. People don't realize Taylor Swift played at the Bluebird Cafe. And Taylor Swift played at the Canyon Club. And Taylor Swift, back when she lived in Calabasas, used to go to the Canyon Club. I remember she was more famous for being Taylor Swift than she was for her music. And I remember her sitting in the building, and I remember the guy from the Beatles,
Ringo?
No, Paul McCartney. When he would come to the club all the time when he was married to that one-legged woman.
Oh, my God.
Am I allowed to say that?
Well, you're allowed to. I'm just not sure.
It's the handicap. She was handicapped.
Okay.
And the reason I only know that is I had to build a ramp.
Do you know which leg she didn't have?
I know that I had to build a ramp to get them up to VIP. And that was my only, that's the part I know.
You're going to go down in infamy as like that lady that talked about Governor Hot Wheels. But, again, Taylor Swift learned her craft and paid her dues.
Right. And that's the thing I want to say is she played in front of a bunch of people. She learned how to react. She learned how to read the crowd. Yeah. And I see this with opening bands all the time because people don't realize Hoobastank. It's funny. I just saw they might be Giants. Mm-hmm. Did you know they got their start at the Canyon Club? I just saw they're like doing these huge arenas now, and they started at the Canyon Club as an opening band.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well,
but again, if you don't sit there and play in front of 200 and 300 and 500 people, I think they're minimizing the value. Back in the day when you and I started again, major labels were sending bands out. I remember when 4 transport trucks would show up at the at the Canyon or at the Coach House for a baby band that just got a new deal on Capitol Records or something.
And that whole system's gone.
It's gone. And, I think it needs to come back. And if it was me and I was king of the world, those streaming services should have to invest in those baby bands to do tour support. And I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe there's stuff I don't know. But to me, sure, it's great. They pay out royalties.
Well, the crazy thing is you're right. That
who's developing artists anymore?
This is the problem. I looked at Amazon because forever I was trying to get a hold of Bezos to say, you should do a ticketing program.
Yeah, I agree.
And because it's all set up, all the equipment's done.
Yeah.
He's not interested in it and he doesn't care. And he's in bed so tight with Live Nation and AEG that he doesn't want to jeopardize
Even though they have Amazon Music. I mean, the lack of integration and cooperation between the different aspects of the industry is fascinating to me. Used to be we talked about the truth and how to develop an artist in a market.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like playing a game of a shell game. People are talking about streaming numbers, but there's no basis. Like, who cares if you got 12 million streams if they've got 4 in Agora Hills?
Okay. So tell me when you were up in Canada mowing your lawn. And there was no such thing as earbuds.
In my driveway.
No, I was going to say there's no such thing as earbuds. There's no such thing as digital music. And you have your
vinyl
record label vinyl with your speakers wired and sitting out on the back porch.
Yeah.
What band is playing? What song is it?
Well, I grew up listening to Styx. I've from the early Equinox, Genesis, the early prog rock stuff. I've always loved guitar players. So, I mean, Steve Lukather from Toto was my idol growing up as a kid.
Yeah, but like you say that, but were you fans of B.B. King?
Not until later.
Right.
Because I was into the rock guys.
Even then, people would come in and they wouldn't know one B.B. song.
Yeah.
Or who's the one from Chicago?
It's
Buddy
like,
Guy.
Lance, if you like wine, you usually don't start out with the expensive wines.
True.
You usually start out with that cheap wine, $2 Chuck.
What do you think the number one? What do you think the number one wine in France is?
I don't know.
Table wine. It's a mixture. They don't drink all of that, all of those high-end wines. They drink table wine.
But it's I think the same.
It's the way
music,
I am with pot. I just buy the cheapest pot I can. Uncle Mark.
You know when pot? When did you start smoking pot?
Oh, Uncle Mark. Uncle Mark, I went back when he passed away to Florida. He had a cage because pot was still illegal. He had a cage built, and he had the oldest pot plants that probably had like 1% THC in the entire plant. And at one time I gave him like new pot.
And it blew his mind.
He was sitting in the corner like going through this acid trip. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that to him. He was used to smoking all day, but it was such garbage.
I have to tell you a story, though, about pot and Gary Faulkner. You're going to love this. So Gary, who doesn't drink,
right,
and he doesn't smoke weed or anything else, he decides he has a little place a little place that's got some acreage, and like you did, where he's got growing stuff. So he decides to grow pot to give to the bands. And apparently he grew this.
That had to come from someone who doesn't do pot.
But he cultivates this weed, and apparently it's quite good, because the claim to fame, or one of the people, was Sinead O'Connor. Rest her soul.
Yes.
She played the coach house, and Gary gave her a little mason jar full of weed.
Right.
And she wanted to come back
and get more.
To get more weed. And he loved it.
Oh, that's so funny. And people always wonder, like, how, because I grew up in upstate New York near Woodstock, and I worked on baling machines. I cultivated corn. We were about yields. So when I moved here, I did that avocado. And it was a side of my wife looked at me and realized I was a serious redneck.
Yes.
And like legitimately, I was talking about the soils.
I think it's one of your more endearing
grafting
qualities, actually, Lance.
I was thinking about, like, we got into this in-depth, and I could see my wife looking at me like, who is this human being I'm married to? Because we were talking about grafting root stock.
Yeah.
And we were talking about phylloxera. And the guys are all looking at.
Is that a prerequisite for promoters?
What? Because to be a warehouse of useless knowledge?
No, to actually enjoy driving a tractor.
I
know you love tractors. Gary loved tractors. Like, I used to call you and I'd ask, "Where are you?"
But basically,
now
I'm
on my tractor.
You know what I traded that for?
What?
Now I snowblower.
Oh.
So I tell people, I was in the snowblower, and they don't realize it is an 88,000-pound snowblower that's shooting a stream of snow. And you know what my most fun thing to do with the snowblower is?
What?
It sends a stream of snow out, like about, what did you say, about 12 to 14-inch thing, and you don't think much of it until you hit another little tree. And you see the tree explode. You see, like, it's a stream.
Boys in their toys.
Yeah. And I'm driving around. I literally will snowplow the entire neighborhood just because it's fun. It's fun. And you're in air conditioning. You can listen to music, and the life is great.
Yeah. It's the simple things in life, right?
I think about with the tractor, because Gary, he's got his little ranch too.
Lance, I'm not joking. I would call you about a show, and then I would call Gary about the same show, and you'd both be on a tractor.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I know Gary. Gary had his own lake. I was jealous of him.
Yeah, he had a pond. Yeah.
But what new talent?
We got to bring Gary up here one time. Actually, now that I've been up here and seen this, I think it'd be a lot of fun. There's a lot of people I'd like to bring up that you would enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to just talk.
Yeah.
Because it's so often that people's perception of what and who we are is much different than the reality of it. Because I claim to fame everything. So I think being a promoter makes you an exaggerator.
That's okay. I mean, I think
because
that is
every
the
time
definition
Joe
of a
Rogan,
promoter, isn't it?
Every time Joe Rogan talks about his studio and how he got his start, I take exception to that, because I remember having to have a T1 line put in my building so Joe Rogan on his comedy show could do his podcast.
Yeah.
And I remember all these guys that basically claiming that, it's my favorite thing. My wife says this all the time. You're an overnight wonder that took 10 years.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you talk about promoters, and I joke around. I'm not a promoter. I work for you. I work for guys like you and Gary and so on, Rich Sherman. There's a ton that I really have a great deal of respect for, because you guys really do have huge cojones to do what you do. And I look up to that, sincerely, and so it's fun for me, because you guys are descended from the P.T. Barnums of the world. It was really taking nothing and turning it into something.
And see, to me, P.T. Barnum is an impressive guy.
Absolutely.
To everybody else, he's a carny. To me, he's an impressive guy, because could you imagine doing a show and going to a different city every 10 days and having to reset up a business and reset up a show?
And also, you're trying to convince people who never seen you, don't know what you do for the most part, to come out and spend their money to go see these things.
So we're wrapping up the show. So one, are you single?
We'll see.
Are you dating?
I am, actually.
You
I
are.
met this wonderful young lady, and we're going to see where it goes. Yeah.
Well, good for you. He's the only a guy. He's my age, and he's single, which I fear for you, because if I was
terrifying
single,
out there,
if
my
I
friend.
was single at my age,
Oh,
I
don't
would
do
be
it.
mortified. I would be like, how do you even approach a woman? Because I'd be afraid to be slapped in the face.
Lance, I have a new business idea. I'm going to become a counselor, marriage counselor, and it's going to be easy. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple that's fighting, and I'm going to tell them that for 30 days they have to go on dating apps. Now, they can't go and do anything.
Oh, they have
But
to date other people to find out they don't have it so bad.
They don't even have to date. They just have to do the dating app for a month.
Right.
They're coming back the following day, and they're
gonna
asking,
be nice again.
They're going to ask me, how do we save this? Because they do not want to do that stuff.
Well, Roger, it's always great. I know we talk all the time, and I would love for you to come back sometime. And this has been Where Music Meets the Soul with Roger LeBlanc, talent buyer extraordinaire. And I can tell you, most of the talent buyers I've worked with in my life are two-faced. You are not. You say what you do, and you do what you say. And thank you again, Ethan and Miss Luann. Get better.
Yeah.
We love you.
Better, Luann. Love you.
We will talk to you later. See you next week. Bye.